President Donald Trump, regardless of what he says, many people say he does appear somewhat believable. And we need to be believable in a pitch. How does Donald Trump appear to be so very convincing? Before we look at what Donald Trump does so well, first things first, let's dispel the myth that Donald Trump has somehow become a different person once he has become the President of the United States. Just take a look at this clip going back 30 years and see how similar Donald Trump is from then to now.
Everybody's taken advantage of the United States. People know that if certain people are running a country, that it won't happen. I mean, when you look at Japan, not paying for the defense. We're defending Japan. We're losing billions and billions of dollars. We're fighting for AIDS help and for farmers and for this and that. And it's a shame. And the Japanese folks, who I respect greatly, but they're not treating us fairly. They're really not treating us fairly. Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, they're not paying us anything for the services we're rendering, and I think it's a disgrace. And I think people look at certain people, and maybe me, if I were in a position, this country, believe me, would not be ripped off like it is, and it is just being ripped off so badly by our so-called allies.
You'll see then that President Donald Trump 30 years ago sounds very similar to how he sounds today. All that success of 30 years ago when he was a massively popular and successful businessman, he hasn't been changed. By now he's being a massively popular, super successful politician and the most powerful man on planet Earth. He's stayed true to his roots. He still delivers words in the same manner. What is it then that President Donald Trump does to be so very, very, very believable? Amazingly believable. I've put together two clips that hopefully illustrate what I'm talking about.
As you know, I will soon be meeting with Kim Jong-un as we seek a future of peace, harmony, and security for the whole Korean peninsula, and in fact, for the whole world. And these guys all think, wow, we finally have them, because Mexico said they're not going to pay for the wall. What does that mean? What does that mean? We're renegotiating NAFTA. Remember what I said. We are having, you remember I said to Tennessee, I said to everyone, we have such a bad deal with Mexico. We have such a bad deal with Canada. We lose with Mexico over $100 billion a year with this crazy NAFTA deal.
The contrast should be pretty clear. Yes, they are two different contexts. One is a foreign policy speech and one is a speech to his supporters, but you can tell the difference very marked. In one speech, in the first speech, he is reading just like any other politician, making sure that every single word that he says is correct. And in the second clip, he's completely come to life, right? He's starting to use all kinds of gestures and really talking like a normal human being. Donald Trump comes across first as a human being, as second as the President of the United States. And in the majority of the time, he never once comes across as a politician. Hence why he sounds so convincing and very, very believable. There are lots of advantages to this approach by Donald Trump. Of course, it's a nightmare for anyone trying to write a speech for him because you never know where he's going to deviate to. But when you speak like Donald Trump, when you speak as though you're talking a normal conversation and you've internalized the content, which we should always do in a pitch, when you're like that, you can start to control the room. Just say in a pitch you get an interruption by somebody, someone comes into the room, or perhaps someone really starts to fire some hard, tough questions at you. Even if you've asked them not to come at you with any questions until the end of the pitch, they could still do that. What do? Well, here's a good example of how well you can control the room and how badly you can control the room, depending on whether or not you are reading from a script or not. The first clip I'm going to show you is of Prime Minister Theresa May, the UK Prime Minister, giving a speech and being interrupted by a heckler who approaches her at the front of the stage.
While our opponents flirt with a foreign policy of neutrality and prepare for a run on the ground. Some people say we've spent too much time talking about Jeremy Corbyn's past. You may not have heard me say that. So some people say we've spent too much time talking about Jeremy Corbyn's past.
Now take a look at how President Donald Trump treats a similar scenario.
Thank you. How did he get in here, Matt? Why? Okay. Just for the media, the fake news back there. They took very good care of him. They were very gentle. He was very obnoxious.
You'll see in the second clip, President Donald Trump treats it as all a bit of a joke. He's in complete control, he's relaxed. And that's what we look for in a leader. And that's also what we look for in an individual who is pitching to us, because they are going to potentially be leading a company to great fame and fortune. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to pitching, we should not read from a script. We should know our pitch so well we can internalize it, speed it up, slow it down, be amusing, be less amusing, all depending on the room. Remember, the spoken word is not the written word. We are not writing a contract, ladies and gentlemen. No, we are not building a wall of contracts. We are speaking, and the audience are much more forgiving when we speak. We can use hyperbole, we can exaggerate, and we can quite frankly get things wrong. Listen to any interview on the radio and you'll often hear politicians screw up their lines. It's forgivable, it's the spoken word. The written word is different to a spoken word. Take advantage of that fact when you pitch, internalize the information, and go out there and be believable.